It's so impressive.
I'm going to start. Okay, let's start over here with, this is, I don't know if you guys know the fine arts photographer David Armstrong. He died about 5 years ago. I love David. I never could get enough of him. He was one of the most interesting guys, very erudite. He was always reading Henry James, and he had this marvelous townhouse in Bed-Stuy, and in a neighborhood where, well, I never knew if people were going to kiss me or kill me, but he had this grand townhouse that was very bohemian, and like every third light that you put on didn't work, you know. It was that kind of like hippie bohemian stuff. But anyway, this is a portrait he did of me and my boyfriend Kevin, and this is not recent. I think it's maybe 1988 or so, but it's a beautiful study of us, and I love it. And then here's this portrait that David did of Cookie Mueller. And do we all know who Cookie Mueller is? Oh, okay, good. Oh, good. I'm glad I have a crowd that's well informed. And he did, and Cookie was a friend of mine in Provincetown. And we used to play poker with Cookie and her girlfriend Sharon on Tuesday nights. And it was not really about poker. It was more about amphetamines and wine and beer and weed and gossip. And Cookie is wearing her monkey paw necklace. And does she have her, she also had a necklace that was tiger claw. And this is a very famous image. It's been in museums all over Europe and everything. And she looks so glam. And she always was so glam, you know. And I still see her son, Max, in Provincetown. I saw him last week. He's doing quite well, Max. Yeah. And then here's Cookie's girlfriend, Sharon. And with our friend John Ribera. John died of AIDS back in the late 80s. And I don't know if you guys know Sharon Nisp. And she had her own name around town. She was part of the John Waters crowd. And she was a very stubborn individual and very unique and very opinionated. And I love Sharon.
Took care of both Cookie
and Vittorio. Yeah. And Cookie married this count, Vittorio Scarpati. And I just found out last week that Cookie's buried in the Scarpati Mausoleum in Sorrento in New York, in Italy. Yeah. I didn't know that. But David did, and in fact, I want to curate a show at the Provincetown Art Association of all of David's work, because he did a lot of stuff about Provincetown as well as the rest of the world. So now let's go over here, I guess, just to be...
Do you know who the man was lying next to him?
Yeah, John Rivera. Oh. Unfortunately, he died of AIDS like in the late 80s. 2 years. He was. Yeah. And then this is one of my favorite studies, portraits in the whole world. And do you guys know David Rimonelli, the art critic? Okay. His boyfriend, Tom Zinwala, did this portrait of me. And it's a picture of me holding 2 erections. And, and I absolutely love it. And two are not enough, you know. And I love this study by my friend Mark Rosenthal, who's not well known. But I love the fact that it's a androgynous young man with a penis, and I like it. I like it a great deal. Now, do you guys know Robert Laughlin? Okay, yeah. And Robert, I have several pieces by him, and he did all of these paintings. He was an outsider artist, and usually of the guy, his boyfriend, with the cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And he did variation upon variation upon variation of the brute this guy is called, with a cigarette out of his mouth. Now, Robert was an interesting guy. I would see him around New York, and he looked hapless. And he was a Schleppitz, and he looked like not very well put together, and he'd be lugging his paintings around thrift shops and who knows where to sell. And he died at age 48. Now, I assumed he died of AIDS. No, I was reading the New York Times like about 8 months after Robert died, and when I still subscribed to that stupid newspaper. And like there was this editorial page, 3/4 of a page, about Robert Laughlin, this big. And I'm like, holy cow, that hapless Schleppitz gets 3/4 of a page obit in the New York Times. And it turns out that Robert was a picker. He would go to thrift shops, yard sales, estate sales, and the Warhol crowd called him the chairman because he had this eye for like sleek, modern Danish furniture, and he would select furniture like that for Warhol and all of his crowd, Vince Freeman and everything. They called him the chairman, and Andy would buy stuff from him by the dozens because he was a compulsive collector. And the New York Times article goes on, and it credited Robert Laughlin, the Schleppitz, with changing the whole paradigm of antiques, from classical antiques to what we now call mid-century modern, because he picked out all of that sleek Danish stuff, you know. Who knew? And I mean, who knows among this crowd which one of you guys and women are going to get 3/4 of a page? Jimmy probably will in the New York Times. Now, Jimmy's had an interesting life. Anyway, Robert is, I love his stuff. Now, this painting, everybody thinks this is a Basquiat, and it is not. This guy I met in Fort Greene, Haitian guy, he was selling his paintings. I bought this one for like, I don't know, $50 or something, but it is not Basquiat. But I like the energy behind it. I like the style. I like the just the rawness of it. And I have to say that I like art from the street. I like art that has a criminal vibe to it. Seriously, I like people that come up through the street and have that street sense about them, and a street sensibility from the street culture. You know, it's better than these like kids that go to Brown and then they get MSWs from Stanford or something. And their stuff, it's good, but they don't have the street passion that I'm talking about. Yes. Now, this is the pièce de résistance of my entire collection. I'm sure a lot of you remember the Pyramid Club, and I'm also sure a lot of you remember the drag queen Happy Face from the Pyramid Club. And Happy used to put on, yes, sir, yes, Ellen. Happy used to put on cabaret, hilarious shows in the 1980s, early 90s at the Pyramid Club. And this painting is by Taboo, Stephen Taschine, who was also a drag queen at the Pyramid Club. And it's one of my, it's the basis of my entire collection. I love this piece. And the Pyramid Club was highly functioning criminal enterprise. And you went downstairs and there would be people shooting up with, and talking showbiz, you know, talking about Ethel Merman with like a hypodermic needle in their vein. New York, New York. That's why I moved here, you know. Anyway, I love this piece. Now, let's go down here. Oh, this is like a Taboo wall. This is Taboo's portrait of me. And I just got back from India, one of my trips to India, and somehow I brought this. The Indians are great about these dried marigold necklaces, or even like fresh marigold necklaces. And Taboo caught me wearing that, and I like the hands. I like what the hands are doing there. And my nephew, who's an actor, he stayed with me one time, and he said when actors keep their hands like that, it means they are thinking deeply about a decision. Okay, maybe I was, And here's another beautiful work by Taboo. This might be the second pièce de résistance in my collezione. These are the Shirelles. If any of you go back that far, they were a women's singing group from the 60s. Yeah, from the 60s. Phil Spector produced a lot of their records. And the big hair. I love the big hair. And the glitter. Look at all that glitter. And if I haven't told you guys yet, I'll tell you now. I'm a liberated homosexual, and I'm in town, and I've been in town for the festivities. I came here in '79, and I love it. I just love New York. And then let's go here. My friend Craig Coleman, the drag queen, also known as Varla. Paul Bridgewater used to show a lot of his work. And this piece is called Men of Great Power, but No Dick. And it's a portrait of all these Japanese and Asian emperors and rulers who had these like vast empires, but little wings, you know. And Craig as Varla, God, this sounds terrible, but there was also a Varla drag queen in New York City. And Craig was out of Miami and Espanola way. And he was moving up to New York. And all the queens in New York were like, oh my God, how is New York going to handle two major Varla drag queens? And then fortunately, some people say, Varla in Miami died before we had to face that collision of the two Varlas in New York, which would have been nasty. And if you guys want to come over here and take a look at picture, this is, I don't know if you guys have heard of John Dugdale. And this is a self-portrait by John reposing with lilies in his hand. And it's a cyano print. It's a style of photography from like the turn of the last century. And John is blind now, but you know, he still art directs his films, photographs. He still somehow produces them, and they come out and they're good. And I guess he does it somehow just verbally communicating with an art director and the camera people. And John is still alive. He's still with us. And it's just, I'm so sorry he lost his eyesight. It was a gradual thing with AIDS. And he had cytomegalovirus. And it didn't happen overnight. It just happened gradually, that the world became dark. And thank God he has this beautiful Creole boyfriend who sees him around town and takes care of him. And he's lovely. Yeah, we all deserve to have a caregiver like that. My friend Billy Quinn. This is a study of a 38-year-old, recently bereaved, Irish ex-Catholic, post-Christian, HIV negative, undocumented alien being safely sodomized by a recently bereaved 33-year-old HIV positive Afro-American Christian. And Billy had these studies blown up and surrounded with gold and silver leaf. And they're all as big as, even bigger than Happy Face over there on that wall. And I wish I had it. I didn't have the money to buy it at the time. Billy did one of me and my boyfriend, Kevin, who lives in Australia now. We were naked, and with my Doberwoman laying on the floor, Billy said, bring something that's very dear to you. I didn't know what to bring, so I brought my beloved Doberwoman. And it was a beautiful study. Oh, and we're both wearing condoms. Our dicks were limp, but we're wearing condoms because, well, we tried to get them hard, but with all those lights, it's difficult. And the idea was the condoms were like a message about living in the age of the plague, which we've all been through. And I'll probably start crying at some point during this presentation. And then I guess we should go over here to this room. Is there anything? No, we're not missing anything. We'll go here. Well, let's see. Let's go. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. Come on. There's plenty of room. Come on, come on. Hi, Libby. Hi, August. How you doing? There was this guy in the 1980s that did stencil art, and his name was Michael Roman, and he did this piece, and it's all stencil. I have several of his pieces, and stencil art was like a big genre for like about 5 years at the late 80s, early 90s. And I just think that this piece is exquisite, the remembrance of now and always, yeah. And then we'll go over here. This is by Alice O'Malley, the fine arts photographer, of Edgar Oliver. Do you guys all know who Edgar Oliver is? Yeah. I remember the first time I met Edgar, and we were crossing Houston Street with these other people. And he said, you know how he talks, very theatrical for Savannah, Georgia, or is it Cleveland, Ohio? He goes, my dear, I was crossing Houston Street. He put like 6 extra syllables in the word Houston. You know, he's wonderful. But this is Edgar's living room, his Christmas tree. And Edgar was like the last holdout in this apartment in the West Village or East Village. He was the last, East Village, he was the last one there. He wouldn't leave until his landlord made him a proper offer to buy him out. And for years, he was the only person that lived in that huge, creaky, mouse-filled, empty building. And he had no money. He had no money, zero money. And so he had no money that year. But he picked up these branches on the street, and he did make a Christmas tree for himself. And the place was so ill kept. You could see the windows; they're just like taped, so the wind doesn't get in. It was like you can't get more artist bohemia than that. And then, while we're on the subject, here's Ellis's portrait of Edgar Oliver, and he's a performance artist. And if you have not seen any of his shows, I highly advise it. They're really, really good. And they're very visceral, and they're he's very talented that way. And he comes around here sometimes to different shows. He is very shy. He's painfully shy. He's always standing in a corner like this and looking. I feel bad because the shyness is so painful on him, but I always say hello anyway. And then Alice is getting another photo here. Here's a photo she did of people in the moon. And this is me and Augusto Machado in the moon, and I just think it's gorgeous and tender, and she catches us in such a tender pose. And then we have Gail Thacker, another woman fine arts photographer. And I don't know if you people know Rafael Sanchez. Okay. This is her portrait of Raphael in drag. And she colored the background a little bit. And I just feel very lucky to have that. I have a lot of stuff. I was telling people earlier that I'm a compulsive art collector, and I have so much stuff in my house, and I look at it every day, and it's like same old, same old. But to see it here in like a fresh platform, it's really exciting for me. And I'm like, oh my God, I own all this shit? Wow. I'm lucky. Oh, okay, this is good. There's this dyke that I met, I don't even know where, I think on the street someplace in the East Village. And she had a couple of her drawings rolled up, and she was selling them. And I like this one, and I don't know her name, I don't remember her name. I think she went back to Sweden. I haven't seen her since, but I bought this crayon drawing by her, and I've been around the world, and these are the most expressionistic armpits I have ever seen in any museum or collection. I mean, those armpits are aggressive. Look at them, they're coming at you. And here we go back to taboo again. And I'll wait for everybody. Come on in, come on, give people a chance, give people a room in the bag. You guys know who Sylvester is. You Make Me Feel, the rock and roll singer. He was trans. This is Taboo, Stephen Tashian's portrait of Sylvester. And the teeth are just out of this world. They're great. And again, the glitter. I love it when Tabby uses a lot of glitter in his work, in his paintings and stuff. And the lips, the teeth is, and I love that song to this day. I have it on my list. I play it all the time, yeah. And here's another really great piece by Taboo that's very frank, Homo Dudes. And this is Stephen here. And there's no glitter in it. I think glitter got on that from some of the other paintings and works that I have by Taboo. But I have a lot of Taboo's work, and I'm really happy that Taboo is doing so well. Taboo is now high stakes, international art market. And when I came to New York in the late 70s, early 80s, and I met Taboo, he was dancing on the bar as a drag queen at the Pyramid Club. He didn't have 20 cents to rub together. I think he worked very minimum wage at one of these framing stores or Utrecht art supplies, you know. And now Taboo is shown in Germany, England, Japan. He's made it through high-stakes international market, and he's only in his 60s, and I'm so glad he's achieving fame and money. And girlfriend is dressed head to toe in Gucci these days, you know, and head to toe, and he loves Gucci, and he works it. He carries off that Gucci really, really well, you know. And he still paints every day. Gets up at like 5:30, 6 in the morning, sits on his floor in his East Village apartment, and he paints acrylics, and he's done in an hour, and that's his day. He's so prolific. I'm just very happy for him, yeah. And is there anything around this corner? No. Okay. I also I'm very fond of graffiti, and I'm very fond of subway art. And I had the privilege of meeting the grandfather of graffiti, this guy named Blade. And he now lives in Co-op City with his lovely girlfriend. And he was the guy that did this stuff all over subway cars, all over subway transoms that are over the street at different subways. He graffitiized New York in the beginning, in the 70s and certainly into the 80s. I have another piece that's not here, but by Is the Wiz, who was another great graffiti artist. I love that stuff. I don't know if you people were here in the 80s, but the subways were like, you couldn't see out the windows. You couldn't see in the windows. There was so much graffiti, wall to wall, floor to ceiling, you know. And yeah, and when I walked into the car, I was immediately comfortable because I had this sense of, there's anarchy here. People do what they, I love anarchy. And then I had this sensation, I felt like one of the Egyptian rulers walking to one of the tombs that had all these hieroglyphs all over the place, because I would sit in the subway car going who knows where, to 72nd Street, and I would just be enthralled with like all the signings and the graffiti, and I love that stuff. I love the energy that involved. It's gone. Giuliani came, changed the whole fucking city. Yeah. And then talking about David Armstrong again, David did this lovely portrait of my friend Max DeCorsia. And Max was a Renaissance man. We were boyfriends for about 10 minutes back in the mid-'80s. And Max is a white guy. He was the best dancer in downtown New York for a white guy. Jimmy knows. And he had so much soul. And he was out at the clubs every night. And he could predict a fashion coming along. For example, I'm talking about '86. I went to Germany, and Max said, bring me back a pair of those boxer briefs that only the Germans wear. And I brought him back a pair, because at the time, men, we only wore tighty-whities or boxer shorts. But boxer briefs didn't come to the United States until like 10 or 15 years later. Now we all wear them, you know, spandex or whatever, boxer briefs. And at one point, Max, this is in the 80s, Jimmy would remember, Max wore different hats every day. And he was real good with hats, and I'm sure he inspired me in my later years to wear hats. But actually, I must tell you that there was a while that I was obsessed with Arthur Rimbaud and his boyfriend, Paul Verlaine, two alcoholic French poets from the turn of the last century. And they were queer. They were definitely queer. And I loved their poetry, and they wore hats. They wore hats like the one that I have on now. So I like to think that I'm channeling my Arthur Rimbaud hats, that I love them, yes. They were badasses, if you didn't get the picture. Paul Verlaine and Arthur Rimbaud. Now this thing, Jane came over to my house, my loft, and this was laying in the corner, and I don't know who did this. It's on both sides, and it's all these guys, of course, with dicks and hard-ons and everything. And I put it in the corner. It makes me uncomfortable. I couldn't look at it after I bought it because it's cringy for me. And the faces remind me of men at the time who were dying of AIDS. There's just something gaunt and human-less about their faces. There's no humanity there, but there's like a lot of, I guess, hard-ons. And yeah, but that's what gay life was like in the 80s when people were dying of AIDS. But somehow people were still having sex. I had sex. It was a strange time, and AIDS certainly did a number on the downtown community, on the art community. But anyway, there's this piece. And now that it's out in the open, I'm going to work it when we bring it back to my loft. I like it now. I have reintegrated with this work of art. And we did that wall. Oh, this stuff is good. Hi, honey.
Yeah.
These three, this is on slate, this is on slate, and this is on, I don't know what. But there's this boy pissing on a fire, and this guy's getting a blowjob, and this guy's getting a blowjob. And this is by Stephen Lack, who I love. I think he's undersung, underappreciated, under. And I wish that he would have an explosion of recognition like Taboo has had. But I've asked Jane if she wanted to put on a show of his stuff here. And I think it would be great either at this gallery or at the one on First Street. And then my friend Dane Terry did this photograph of this guy in the shower. It's actually an athlete in the shower with the heart on after the game. Who knows what game, football, basketball, I don't know. And then here is another great work of art by Joel Handorf that is very homoerotic. This guy, I love the fact that it's translucent. And you can see through it, the light goes through it. And here's a guy holding his heart on. And I love homoerotic art. That's not vulgar. Somehow this is not vulgar. Those blowjob pictures are not vulgar. They're fine art. And I love that about them. And I love Joel. He's I think he's octogenarian. If not, he's close to it. And he still produces all this great art. He had horrible orthopedic problems. He's in a wheelchair. It's hard for him to get around. He does art anyway. And I love people that just can't help themselves, and they've got to do art. I love that dynamic in a person. And I think that's it. That's the collection of Gene Fedorko, the I'm glad you enjoyed it. I love the energy. I didn't think so many people would come. I'm glad you all did. And now, let's go hear Nora. Let's go enjoy Nora. Yeah. Oh, thank you all. A very well-informed audience, man.